Greetings, my guzzlers. Well, not that you can tell, because my naturally svelte figure, but there's been certain things I've not been eating. And then that bloody Jamie Oliver put up a video of this cheeseburger to die for. And I thought, I've got to do that. And I thought, oh my God, that will be a killer. So I've got a heart-friendly cheeseburger, full of protein, lowish in fat, lowish in carbs. Some of that does depend on what meat you get and what bread buns you get. But even so, this is not the Jamie version. But this is a Joshua Weissman or whatever, a burger, nice and healthy. And we're also going to make some chips to go with it. That's chips. No, not a packet of fucking crisps, you Americans. Chips. Potato chips. Could make fries, but I'm not going to make fries. I want to make chips in the air fryer. So tonight, cheeseburger with chips. So before we actually make our burgers, and I'm using 95% fat-free or 5% fat mince, if you can get it less fat. The thing is, with burgers, it's the fat is the flavour. But we've got to avoid the fat. Got to avoid the fat. So I've got 5% here from, oh yeah, Sainsbury's. We don't shop at dirty word, bastards. Now, cheese, got cheese in it. You're only going to get one slice per burger. Okay. These are the lighter versions. If you want a cheeseburger, so it's going to have cheese in it. You've got to put up with that. But it's the lighter version if you get it. We're going to make a sauce to go with it. So we're going to have low-fat mayonnaise, Sriracha, however you pronounce the bugger thing, some mustard. Oh, I think I want some yogurt. Don't I want some yogurt? Oh no, I don't. You want some oil, but that's for the chips, and you only want a little bit. You want some potatoes for your chips. You're going to want some salt, some water. We want a white onion, brown onion, red onion, don't really matter. Obviously burger buns. Now, old Joshua, he's American, I think. I think he's American. Apologies if you're Canadian, but I'm pretty sure he's American. Over there, he's able to get these lower carb burger buns. These are the lowest buns that Sainsbury's had. Very difficult because they're burger buns or bread rolls. You want some corn flour? I think that's it. Oh no, sorry. And we want, for some extra flavour and whatever, we're going to have some gherkins. Not dill pickles, gherkins. Now, we're going to slice them longitudinally, and as it so happens, the missus, when she put our latest order in with Sainsbury's, don't shop anywhere else. We can shop at Morrison's or Asda, nowhere else. They come pre-sliced, that's quite handy. So you're going to want some of them. Now, as old Josh says, you could put lettuce in, you could put tomato. They're all very watery foods, and they're going to tend to put more moisture in, less flavour. And the fact that this is such low-fat meat, you've already got a lot. You've lost a lot of flavour. So you don't want to be adding things that aren't going to add flavour. By the way, I've got my Star Baker, although I'm not baking. This is my, where's it gone? So it was on here. Well, oh, it's down there. You stand up to cancel one. Okay. So, before we make, we're not going to do the burgers till more or less everything's ready. Less fat means we have to cook it quick. Okay, and we're going to be using we're making smash burgers. So I've printed myself a burger press. Okay, so the only other thing you might want, optional, mandolin. we want very thin. Oh, and yeah, I did mention the onion, very thin onion. I've rabbited on a bit. Let's get preparing. Right, the first thing I want to do is I want to peel these potatoes. Okay, now I'll pick that in a minute. And I'll pick that bit up in a minute. The potatoes we're going to cut into fairly thin chips, not as thin as fries. Right, that's my potatoes peeled. So what we want to do now is we want to slice them. Christ, that knife is nice and sharp now. That's a different video, different story. Now, I was saying to you, chips, fries, and French fries. Now, these are perhaps typically chip size. A fry might be at least half that size. Okay. And because it's potatoes, and if not careful, they'll start browning. I'm just going to chop them up. Now, fries tend to be quite regular. Oops, why is that over there? In terms of like length and everything else like that. I'm not worried about the length, but obviously for cooking purposes, and we're going to air fry these, by the way, we want to make sure they're regular sort of thickness, width and height and whatever. Like I say, length is a little bit irrelevant, and I'm not worried about the fact that the end bits be a bit curved or the ends are a bit, you know, curved. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, so long as the bulk of that chip to not crisp is the same thickness, that's all that's relevant. Now, fries or French fries were these thinner versions. Apparently some Americans can't understand why they go to France and they don't call them French fries. They call them fries. They're French fries. Why do you call them fries? Oh, they're fries. You might want to call them French fries because you found them in French fries. Fuck you know, his speech again. I've been off all alcohol all week. This is my first alcohol all week. So do excuse me if it's going to me a bit, my head a bit. We had a bit of a session last weekend. Anyway, I'm going to finish these fries off. The chips. I'm going to finish these off. And then we're going to leave them soaking in water while I prepare the onion. Now the onion, I'm just going to cut the top off. Okay, and then I'm just going to, we want like whole circles as it were. So I'm just going to try and score the top a bit. Now you can use whatever kind of onion you want, sweet onion, white onion, red onion, whatever. Okay, and we want to cut really thin. Don't go in there, you little shit. We want to cut really thin slices. Now you could try using the knife, but we want nice consistent slices. So what I'm going to use, oh, that's slippery bugger. I'm going to use my mandolin. Now unfortunately my mandolin, I'm going to have my fingers off. You can't adjust the thickness, okay? You just want slices, and I think these are going to end up being a little bit on the thick side. Let's have a look. That's plenty there. Okay. Well, actually, I've done most of it, haven't I? The blades on this thing's a bastard. A number of times when I'm washing up, I put my hand in there and almost take my bloody fingers off. You have to be very careful. Now, what we want to do with that onion, because it can be a bit fierce, don't want the skin in it. I mean, that is actually probably a little bit thicker than we want, but I've got no choice in my mandolin. If I tried to use my knife, it wouldn't be consistent. What I'm going to now do is just, oh, come off. I'm just going to rinse that, get off. I'm going to rinse that under cold water, okay, and then we're just going to sort of immerse it in some chilled or iced water just for a little bit. Now, as Josh said, or Joshua, sorry, perhaps I better not call him Josh, you might not like that, I don't know the guy personally. People go, oh, you washed out on the flavour, you washed out. It actually takes a lot of that stuff that makes I want to cry, although these onions actually have been alright, but also it allows the more natural flavours to come through rather than that harsh sort of sulphury bit. So we're trying to keep things low fat, okay, so the sauce, bloody onion peel in there, it's going to be low fat. So we want some yellow mustard, okay, I've got Dijon mustard, and we want about a tablespoon of that, okay, and then some nice low fat light mayonnaise. This is 15 calories per tablespoon, which is quite handy because we want 1 tablespoon. I did say to the wife I might want some more. Excuse me. There we go. Almost 1 tablespoon. Well, there is more than 1 tablespoon. I don't know about almost. In that goes. And then this Sriracha sauce. We want 2 tablespoons of that. Oh my God, that's being generous, isn't it? It's going to be hot. 1, 2. Okay. So just scrape that out of there, and we're going to mix that up, and that, once that's all mixed together, that will be our burger sauce. Now I should point out, by the way, this is enough sauce for 4 people. Not a lot there, but we're trying to keep the calories, everything down, okay? So just bear that in mind. If you're doing the Weight Watchers, I've pointed it out. If you can keep the low calorie buns, the lower calorie cheese slices, the 95+% meat, then you should end up with about 450 calories, 15 grams of fat, 45 grams of protein, 44 grams of carbs. But it will very much depend on your buns and your cheese. But overall, Weight Watchers points, 9 points per burger. And given the way we're going to do the chips, they're about 3 grams a portion. Now, if you were doing for 4 people, you're going to want 8 burgers. I mean, the actual, what you Americans call the patties. Because there's 2 per patty. Now, to keep to the guidelines of what I've said, for 8 you want 680 grams. Now, unfortunately, it's quite difficult when you're buying it from a supermarket to get sort of weights like that. So I've got 500 grams, and this is for 2 of us. So I'm going to divide this into 2, and then I'm going to divide each one of them into 2. So I'm dividing in quarters, aren't I? Now, one thing with Weight Watchers is it doesn't really matter about your meat, okay? Because you generally, I'm going to have to put the other glove on for this. I thought I'd get away with doing it one-handed. Actually, what I might do to start with, I might just get it out of this packet, roughly shape it into balls, okay, and then we'll shape it later. And I've got my other glove on. So I've got here, there will be the total burger weight per person here will be 250 grams. If you're doing it the other way, 160 grams, I think. I don't know. Anyway, don't matter. But we want to round these off because we're making smash burgers. Oh, what's a smash burger? Oh, I've got a raffia of their glove. I'll tell you in a minute. But that's partly why you want one of these burger press. There you go. There's me burger balls. I'll put them over there. And what we're now going to do is we're going to drain those chips and dry them off. Okay. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll show you what we're going to do once they're drained. So, drained and dried, I should have said. Okay, so we're going to roughly dry them. I've got that same bowl which I've just dried out. That I'm just going to chuck those back in there because we want to make these nice and crispy on the outside. A crisp is a very flat disc of potato, which may be reconstituted potato, or it might be very thin slices. That's a crisp. These are not chips. Oh, sorry, these are chips. Okay, the very thin things you find are crisps. Don't give a shit what you Americans think. They're chips. And that's what we're having tonight. Anyway, what you now want to do is take a tablespoon at least of corn flour. They didn't want to let go. And I just want to toss these around in the corn flour. And the idea being that was sort of semi-absorb some of the water on the outside. Okay. And then, once you're sort of happy with that, we're going to add some oil. Now, with an air fryer, obviously you're trying to reduce the amount of oil, but I want to control the amount of oil I've got. So I'm going to actually measure the oil I've got. Actually, I found a really interesting fact about it. My air fryer, you get this sort of like grease on it inside. That I put it in the dishwasher, which I'm apparently not meant to do with my one anyway. And it just will not shift it. I've tried scrubbing it, it just will not shift it. And you see all these YouTube channels and everything else telling this is how you get the grease out of you. Don't fucking work. Or everything I've tried don't work. And apparently part of it is to do with these spray oils. If you buy this is an air fryer spray oil. They're not necessarily just pure oil. They've got other things like lecithin and everything else like that in it. And they're partly what contributes to this baked on grease, if you like. The other thing is, if you use olive oil, because that is a low smoke oil, that tends also to do this sort of baking on stuff. So I'm using this rapeseed oil, and I've got 1 tablespoon. You can add half a tablespoon more if you need. I've got quite a few chips in there. Okay, that's going in there. I'm going to do a Jamie now. And now what you want to do is just toss these through to try and coat all these chips in there with oil. That's the only oil that's going in there. Okay, and then these will be ready to fry. So we've got our pickles already sliced, so we ain't got to slice them. We've got our onion rinsed and in a bowl there ready to go. We've got our burger sauce done. We've still got to prepare our buns, i.e. toast them. We've got to cook our burgers, but these are going to take 20 minutes. Okay, so right, my air fryer is just preheated 3 minutes at 200. So now I'm going to sling them in there, and that's going to go in there, and I'm just going to reduce the temperature down to 190. I know you can't see. For 5 minutes. Actually, I don't know why I set that timer, because I've set that on 5 minutes. Now, you could have added salt and pepper, you could have added paprika, you could have added whatever you like. I'm going to add some salt and pepper a bit later in the cooking. So now we're going to start by toasting our buns. So we want about a medium-ish heat. If you've got like a flat skillet, I did debate about buying one and I thought, am I going to use it? Probably not. So I'm going to do it in the frying pan, but I'm probably going to have to cook my burgers one at a time. Actually, I might need a bigger tray than that one. So the first thing we're going to do, Carb be very bloody noisy here. Am I noisy enough for you? Is get a bigger baking tray. Okay, and I want to get that up to heat because what we want to do is toast our buns. So now, that Jamie made this burger. And he actually, I mean, he didn't give a shit about fucking weight and everything else like that. And he put mayo on it. And I was tempted to do that. And I thought, no, follow what Josh says. Not OCD or anything. But I do like these things lined up like I put them. Don't you flip over there, you little shit. Why are you at an angle? Thank you. Don't you start. You've not said a lot tonight. I'm quite happy with that. Don't you all know now? Excuse me. That was the whatever. Oh, that Japanese. Bought a Japanese ready meal from Sainsbury's last night. See that jar? If you had that jar in half, that was the size of it. I think that was 10 Weight Watcher points. I mean, really tasty. I wouldn't exactly say it was filling. Right, when that's up to temperature, first thing we want to do is toast the inside. Now, if you were doing this with no holds barred, you would be buttering that, or in Jamie's case, putting. Oh, you shit! Caught me arm on the red. That was hot, bastard. You would be putting something like butter or mayo on it, but even so, even though that is without anything like that, that should still now get a nice crust on it. So we're just going to do that for a few minutes to get a crust on it. Oh, I better get that under a cap. Right, these are toasting. That's coming up for its first 5 minutes. 5 minutes. So we bring it out, and you can see they don't look anything like done. Give them a little toss around, as the actress said to the bishop. Put them back in. 190 again. Another 5 minutes. Right, so these have now got a little bit of a crust on them. So I'm just going to flip them over. Okay, that's warm. And we're just going to lightly toast the other side. Okay, and then I'm going to transfer them out to give that a wipe down. Now, there's no fat bin in there. If, when we come to do the burgers, you're using like a griddle pan, it's either got to be a non-stick one. This is a non-stick frying pan, so this will be all right, or it's got to be a well-seasoned griddle pan, which we're not using, or you're going to have to add a little bit of oil, otherwise the burger will stick, because remember, this is a low-fat burger. And that should be there, next to that, not there. That was your job, but it weren't really, but I'm blaming you, alright? It's not my OCD or anything like that. That's where it lives. Keep your eye on it. So, once that's lightly toasted on the other side, we're going to remove that, just clean that pan out, and then we're going to put that heat on high. We want this hot to do our burgers. Now, because the size of the burgers, the size of my griddle, ideally you want to do 2 at once, so you're making 1 burger. Wallop, there you go. But because I haven't got a griddle pan, I'm restricted by that size of them, I'm going to do 1 at a time. I'm going to put them on the tray and put them in the oven, which isn't the ideal way of doing it, but that's the way we're doing it. So I've had the second 5 minutes, sorry, of the fries. I've given them a toss. The buns are done. I've now turned the heat up, and we're going to get that nice and hot. Now, we're now going to take one of our burger buns, and we're going to put that in there, and we're going to smash it down. Now, ideally, you're going to want it. Ooh, touch that. You're going to want it slightly bigger than your bun, particularly because it's low fat. It's going to shrink. Okay. Now, I told you you've just got to be a little bit careful because it will stick. Okay. But oh, actually, I can probably get another one in there, couldn't I? Shouldn't have done that. Ideally, you don't want to touch it. Okay. It's better if I can do 2 at once. And this is where the term smash comes from. You are literally smashing that burger down. By making it thin, you are making it easy to cook through. The drawback is it can cook too quickly. And as a result, by the way, the red wine hasn't got pale. I nicked some of the white Prosecco. I've drunk your red one. What you're looking for, you've got to cook the meat through. It's mince. If you're doing a steak, the inside of a steak, what's that on there? The inside of a steak is sterile. When you mince it, you're mixing the outside with the inside. So therefore, with think like mince and burger, it's important to cook it all the way through. Now, I don't know where you can see it on this one, but we're getting at least halfway up the side. And actually, because of the way this is, I'm just going to turn that around, because it does tend to cook a little bit unevenly. You can see what a good non-stick pan this is, because this is actually, let me slide this around. So we want to cook it about 2 to 3 minutes when it's this thin. Big surface area, a lot of heat getting into it, it's cooking through. When it's about halfway done, we're going to flip it. Okay? Got to make sure the inside's hot, but equally, especially with something this thin, we don't want it overcooking. It becomes dry, you lose the flavour. There's no fat in it. So this first one I put in, I'm now going to flip that. You can see you've got some brown in the Maillard reaction, or whatever you call it, on there. Okay, that's gone on there. That one's still not quite there yet. Oh, we're at our next toss. Now you can see they're starting to get there. So oh, burnt me. I'm going to get that's going in for the third 5 minutes. Okay. 190. Now, when we get to our final toss, right at this stage, what I'm going to do now, these cheese slices, very thin, but being that we're sort of calorie counting, I've got to be really careful here. We're having one slice, that's going on there, okay? This slice is now just about ready. Ooh, caught my finger on the flip, okay? And we're going to put these two together. So like I said to you, each burger 2 patties. So just going to cook that. So we don't want to overcook things, so at this point I'm going to take that burger and I'm just going to flip that on top of there. Now you can see that's not quite cooked, that one, so I'm just going to flip that over, and while that's doing that I'm just going to take my next one, and in that goes, and smash it down. I mean, that's don't you do, you little shit. My lights decided to go wonky. Yeah, little bastard. Don't behave, bastard. Now, like I said to you, because obviously I'm cooking in a sort of a frying pan that's not big enough, I'm going to have to put one of these to one side. Okay, so at this point I'm just going to put that in there. Not the best thing, because it will start drying it out. You could cover it over, but I'm going to cut my ass. So I'm just going to put that in an oven, keep it warm, okay? Which now allows me to take that final burger, put that in there, on that goes, smash it down. I must admit, I thought smash would probably mean something completely different. You know, you'd think that's what it means, but you think to yourself, I bet it ain't that easy. It is. Right, so I'm going to do exactly the same. In a minute, that's going to be finished, and we're going to do our seasoning run. So that's 15 minutes. You can see there, a bit of colouring. So at this point, stay. I'm on my last burger. I'm just going to flip that one that was in earlier. That one needs a bit longer. But now we're going to season. Like I say, you could have seasoned this at the beginning. You can season at the beginning and at a bit at the end, but I'm going to add a bit of salt. Actually, I should say this is the first time I've used my air fryer without like a liner. So it'd be interesting to see how this turns out. I'm going to add some pepper, possibly a little bit late for pepper, because obviously the outside of it is not wet anymore. Don't give a shit. Okay, so now I'm just going to toss that, and that's now going in for another 5 minutes. So while that burger's finishing, let's start preparing things. So first thing I'm going to do is take my base of my burger, and I'm going to take about a quarter of that sauce we made, smear on the bottom. Okay, I'm going to do the same for the other one. Okay, so that's our base sauce on there. Then we want our pickles, our gherkins. Now, because we want maximum flavour and texture, what you want to do is make sure the whole of that bun is covered with the pickle. Never realised what an ideal way of doing that. Now, because you've opened this can, this jar, not can, needs to go in the fridge. All right, so I'm going to put that in there. So that's the pickle on it. Where's me? You see what I'm doing? Now, where's my onion? So these are these onions. So now we want just a little. I've probably got more onion here than I need. Okay. So now we're just going to lay some onions across that top of each burger. Okay, that's that done. And now, a final burger, don't you fucking dare, you little shit, is ready. Actually, I'm going to flip that side on there, and then I'm going to flip that over there, So we're going to take that burger. Okay. Oh, I knew you were going to, bastard. I knew you were going to do that. On that goes on there. I've probably slightly overcooked that one. Okay. Now, we take our top. That's the, what's the name going? Half of that burger sauce we did. We're just going to smear over the top. Push that down on top. Smash it down on top. Oh, you bugger. And then out come them fries, which remember we didn't have an awful lot of what's name in there. Let's take half them fries. On they go. Put that there a minute. Tidy this up a bit. It looks a bit of a mess. And there we have our high protein, low fat, lower carb, lower fat, high protein cheeseburger and chips. So let's try one. Oh, it cooked through. It's hot. Well, I hope it is. It'll come out deep fry. Oh, fucking hell, he's hot. Got a nice bit of seasoning on it. Well, let's try this burger. So, it's not a huge patty, as it were, but it looks good. Let's try it. Oh, I've missed. Well, I was going to say I've missed burgers. But the only time I'd ever have a burger, if I was out, was at McDonald's. And this is like, whoa, up there. McDonald's, down there. A restaurant type burger. This, whew, restaurant type burger, back there. That, it's hot. If you don't like the heat, don't put so much Sriracha in it. Whatever you pronounce it. But that is fucking is. There you go. Easy, low calorie, 45 grams of protein, cheeseburger with a side of low fat chips. If you get the right combination of ingredients for Weight Watchers meal, that's 12 points. You can save your points, have that. Fucking ace.